Considering how well the previous video did, I thought it would be interesting to see all sorts of different types of video game related anime that are out there. So I thought Final Fantasy would be a good starting point. Apparently the Final Fantasy series has a couple of different anime you might not know about. So today let's take a look at all these forgotten Final Fantasy animes. Yeah, I guess the 90s were truly a different time. Final Fantasy Legends of the Crystals was released in 1994 in Japan, and 4 years later in the United States in 1998. It was also licensed by Urban Vision. The released anime takes place in the same universe as Final Fantasy V, on Planet R, set 200 years in the future, where 3 out of the 4 crystals were stolen. The original heroes in Final Fantasy V are now in the past. Now a new evil emerges, on Black Moon, and must be dealt with. Mid, a recurring character from Final Fantasy V, contacts a new hero, the young adventurous swordsman Pritz, and throughout the series he connects with various other characters. The series was also divided into 4 episodes: the Wind Chapter, the Fire Chapter, the Dragon Chapter, and the Star Chapter. Sounds cool, right? Well, apparently not. The reviews weren't so good, from one reviewer saying, "It has none of the feel of its source, or the series in general. It plays out mainly like a generic sci-fi anime, with useless robots that can easily chop by swords and guns, and swarms of spaceships that can easily be chopped by swords and guns as well." The huge gap between the release of the Japanese version and the US version, and the non-existence of Final Fantasy V in the West at that point in time, it's no wonder why it failed. It really should have been simultaneously released in the West around the same time when Final Fantasy V came out. It would have been probably better liked. On to the next one, Final Fantasy Unlimited. Final Fantasy Unlimited, unlike the previous anime, has no connection to any game of any kind, so you can go into this one blind and still get a good understanding. Unlimited follows the story of two 12-year-old twins who travel into Wonderland, a mysterious parallel dimension in search of their missing parents. Along the way they meet a variety of other characters to help them on their journey. A little background on this anime. It was originally scheduled for 52 weekly episodes, about 2 seasons, but due to the box office failure of The Spirits Within, a Final Fantasy CGI film, the series was halved, leaving a large amount of information omitted, and the plot becoming rushed in the final stages of development. The story was continued with various types of media. We will discuss this later, but the US never got any related media, leaving it very unfinished. One thing I also like to note is that the home media release is very strange in the US, not because it was released 2 years later in 2004 and 2002 in Japan, but the way it was packed on DVD in Japan was about 2 or 3 episodes per DVD, but in the US it was a whole 4 episodes. I don't know if it was compressed differently, or maybe they thought people would buy it so they stuffed a bunch of episodes and extras on the DVD, hope people would purchase it. I have no clue. I just thought it was weird, so I thought I would mention it. On to the reviews. A lot of people have mixed opinions on this one. One reviewer said it was an amazing anime for real Final Fantasy fans, and a great anime if you compare it to Legend of the Four Crystals. And another reviewer said it was mediocre and a shame on the Final Fantasy series. But that guy literally stopped after 1 episode, so I wouldn't trust that guy. But overall, if you're an anime fan and a fan of classic Final Fantasy series, this would be the one to watch, with it not being connected with the earlier Final Fantasy games and having better pacing and story. But if you're just like a casual Final Fantasy fan that couldn't care less about the series, I'd stay away from this one. It's really only tailored to Final Fantasy fans. To the related media, side note, the whole naming scheme that they use is horrible, so if you're confused, it's very understandable. Starting out, there was a spin-off novel called Final Fantasy Unlimited Twin Bonds that takes place before episode 12 of the series. The next one is Final Fantasy Unlimited Before. It's a promo CD that was given out to people in Japan who purchased all 9 volumes of the DVD series. Final Fantasy Unlimited After was a manga that takes place directly after the end of the anime. Another one is called Final Fantasy After Spiral. It's a web novel which takes place directly after Final Fantasy Unlimited After. There was also a bonus chapter called Final Fantasy Unlimited After Zero. And now, the final confusing piece of media. It's called Final Fantasy Unlimited After 2. It's the final piece to the Final Fantasy Unlimited series. It was a radio drama in Japan that finally concluded the conflict in the story. And now to the cool pieces of media, starting with Final Fantasy Unlimited With You. In 2002, some company of unknown origins developed an RPG on a flip phone. The only known gameplay is these 2 screenshots, so if you have any idea or actual gameplay of this, let me know. I'm pretty sure this is lost media. The next one is actually pretty neat. It's called Final Fantasy Unlimited on PC. It's an adventure video game / visual novel based on the actual anime. It was released on May 16, 2003 by Amada Printing, a studio that produced OVAs. It was made for Microsoft Windows machines in Japan. The game features card-based gameplay and visual novel story cutscenes. The game also includes various screensavers and PC wallpapers from the anime. This one's actually pretty neat, not only because it's pretty much a Final Fantasy game I've never heard of, but it also seems actually obtainable. There was a listing on the Japanese auction site that included the game that sold for around 23,000 yen. It looks pretty clean. It also came with a collector's card and a desk calendar with these releases. That's pretty much it for Final Fantasy Unlimited. Seems like a fully stacked mature anime based on the Final Fantasy video games. If that sounds cool, I'd give it a watch. That pretty much covers all the not so well known Final Fantasy animes. There's also one for Final Fantasy 15, but that's a game that was so popular at the time, I doubt really people forgot about that. If you have any ones that I missed, let me know in the comments. Until next time.